Islam, Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, Osio, Hola, Aloha, Bonjour. This is your brother Zach Bey, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live and in full effect. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel, hit that thumbs up button, and leave a comment down below and interact with my content. You can even hit the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. Thank you. I really appreciate your viewership. Today, I want to jump into this parking violation or an agreement to levy a tax or to contract. Notice it says a violation, but this is a notice. This is a notice to either try to contract or a notice to potentially agree to some sort of monetary exchange. All right. But most people know them as such so-called parking tickets, any kind of toll, like a toll ticket, speeding camera tickets, stuff like that. Is a proper way to respond to these type of contracts when presented, when you're operating in the private. Now, one of the main things you should do immediately is remove your automobile from your personal appellation or name. All right, so you should not have your automobiles or so-called vehicles in your personal name. You can have them, you can and you should have them either in the name of a business which you control and operate, or in the name of a trust which you also control and operate. All right, so just to make life a lot easier, starting there, and operating in the private whenever you receive something like this, a type of notice. All right, so there's a few things you want to pay attention to when you receive a notice like this. It has some information on it that you might want to gather, and how to properly respond. All right, so there's usually always like some type of PO box address on here, and that they provide, and you can use this PO box to send your response to said notice. Now, I want to go over a template in order how to respond, so I can help others with said notices to contract, and how to protect your finance and your personal wealth, and to protect your good name. All right, so a lot of protections are provided through the FDCPA and also the Bills of Exchange Act. All right, and I like to use both of those remedies to I like to use both of those acts to remedy said situations like this. All right, so I start off personally with concerning the notice of, and then you write ticket number, which is the number here, the date issued, and the time, and the plate. If you have a plate personalized or through your trust or business, you could write a plate, which is often how they try to issue these contract notices. If you do not operate with a plate issued by said department, and you're just traveling freely on your own in the common law, that's perfectly fine too. Unfortunately, in the metropolitan areas, private property, private parking, things like that are very limited. So you're putting yourself at a type of risk when you do operate that type of way in the area which I am domiciling. All right. But I just wanted to put that out there, that there's multiple ways to do this. This is just a template that I use and I have been successful in using. All right. So You have the plate number and also the personnel number. You can find all this on the notice of ticket, and you should use all the information provided. I'll also write, in order for a payment to be verified, in order for a payment to be made, it needs to be a verification of debt. All right, so I pretty much place that in a sentence. That is challenging said debt collector or agency that you're not necessarily denying what they're saying, but you're asking for proof. All right, so a verification of debt is needed. And also, right, so please send a paper. All right, excuse me, please send a proper and lawful bill, including a human wet ink signature with lawful two-party contract supporting the bill. All right, so I asked them for more verification and to send things in a certain type of way to me, not any robo signatures, not anything that's automated, but actually interacting with a flesh and blood live person. Now, these notices of ticket often try to get you to bypass your natural rights and operate through a credit card system, or they ask you to mail in said fees associated with said notice of ticket. And yes, they pretty much try to get you to subvert your natural rights by contacting a flesh and blood person and asking for a verification of said debts, which have not been verified. All right, so you just want to challenge a notice of debt that's trying to be levied against you. All right, so in order to protect yourself and to ensure that you're interacting with not just a system or an agent, you want to ask for a human wet ink signature. All right, and in pursuant to 84.1 of the Bills of Exchange Act, Section 84-1 of the Bills of Exchange Act. And I have some ads here, and it says, and under the FDCPA, that's the Fair Debt and Credit Participation Act. All right, the FDCPA. You can look this up to help you protect yourself from debt collectors, any type of debt collectors, credit card, any kind of bill trying to be levied against you. All right, look at consumer protection. All right, this is consumer protection. We are considered consumers when we're out here operating in the world, and people often try to levy debts and or taxes against a straw man. All right, so that's why it's a lot easier to operate when property is not registered to a Department of Motor Vehicles, and also when it isn't registered in your name. If you do decide to register it, not your personal name, use a trust, which takes it to the private, or if you prefer to use a business, which has some protections by it not being your personal name, but it's also in the public. All right, and I continue by also adding agreement with your client that authorizes you to collect on this alleged debt. All right, so you're asking this person to provide the agreement or said contract that they received to collect this debt on the behalf of whoever they're collecting it for. All right, so that's also separating a person or an agent from said agency. All right, so, and I also write agreement that bears the autograph or signature of the alleged debtor, where he or she promises to pay the original creditor. All right, you ask for that. These are layers of verification that you legally have the right to ask to be provided with if someone is trying to contract with you or levy a type of debt against you, your estate. All right, that's how they're getting these figures and these so-called monies, and they try to suspend licenses, which are completely unlawful. They try to impound your personal property, things of that nature. All right. So this is another layer of protection. All right. And I also write a complete payment history on this account. All right. So whatever accounts they might be keeping in their systems about you, to prove that the amount you wish to collect is accurate. All right. That's asking for another layer of verification and any type of history that they might have with you, with trying to levy a debt against you, the past and currently. All right. So after you write that, see, I will have the ads here. That's here, and then the last thing. So these ads would all go first, and then I would add otherwise, except for value and discharge. All right, that's also important. Accepting things for value, which means the face value that they're trying to levy against you, and discharging it means it should be zeroed out of said account. It should be, that exact number should be either added or subtracted from said account that they're trying to levy against you. All right. So this is telling them what you expect them to do. All right. Otherwise known as like a default judgment. And it says notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. All right. That's important. You're putting them on notice, and you're notifying said agent about what is going on here. All right. So you're letting them know that you know who they are and who you are. All right. And that you choose to operate in the private, not the public. And you're protecting and applying your rights as a human and your consumer rights. All right. And lastly, it says respondent has X amount of days to respond to this, or the matter is closed by default. All right. Now that's your default judgment at the end, which we all have the right to do. Notice how when they present us with these bills, these notices, they might add something at the end of theirs at the default judgments, stating something on the lines of, if you do not pay in a timely manner or by XYZ date, said amount will increase, and they'll try to levy more fees against you, things of that nature. All right. So this is your default judgment. You give them a reasonable amount of days to respond to this with all of your verifications to protect yourself and your estate. All right. So you ask for all these verifications and you send it to their PO box. All right. You do not send it through wherever they're collecting said fees from. You don't add in your credit card information. You can also use a PO box as a return address, or any type of address that you might need as a private person, in order to receive your mail, or if you pick up your mail at the post office, which is honestly a lot better and a lot more lawful. All right. Instead of receiving mail, you go pick up your mail. All right. That's also another way. But I just wanted to go over this for anyone who might face something like this. I know there's a lot of Moors out there, you know, a lot of our people who are somewhat confused and maybe intimidated by said notices, maybe taken advantage by said notices, said so-called violations, taxes trying to be levied against them. But this is a way to help us protect ourselves and to learn our rights and to hold these people to task, because they've been, highway robbers for way too long. These highwaymen, collecting all kinds of fees that we technically don't owe, and just, constantly levying debts against our estates and our good names. All right. So this is a way for us to protect ourselves. Definitely check out information on your own about the Bills of Exchange Act, and also check out consumer protection through or by checking out the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collecting Practices Act. All right, that is for consumer protection. All right, once again, this is your brother Zach Bey, Indigenous American Moor. Thank you for joining me. Peace. Wado.